Welcome to Conversations on the Coast, the Bay Area's premier author interview program. We are joined today by Lisa McMann, an author with a most unusual, successful track record. The book we're going to talk about today is Fade. It is a paranormal romance novel for teens, so says the publisher, which is Simon & Schuster, and it is a Simon Pulse book. Did I get it all in?
Yes, you did.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming by.
It's fantastic to be here, Jim.
You know, Lisa, you've written but 2 books, according to what I see.
That is correct.
In the literature. And but you've been very efficient with this process of writing books. You put 2 on the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah, that worked out pretty nicely.
And it's most unusual, is it not?
Sure it is. It's very hard to get on the New York Times bestseller list, and I'm absolutely thrilled that we managed to do it. It's fantastic.
Well, it leads to a question. You know, how do you get to this level of success? You wrote a number of short stories, right?
True.
Probably wrote some novels that you threw away and never showed to anybody.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then one of the short stories won a Templeton Award. What's that?
The Templeton Award was a one-time award. It was a contest, a writing contest for essays and short stories, and it was a 3,500-word maximum contest, and it was a worldwide.
3,500-word maximum?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, so it was short.
All right.
So I wrote a short story, and it was about purpose. It was write a story or something non-fictional about someone that has purpose in life. And so I wrote the story about a person who ran a homeless shelter. Mm-hmm. And part of it came from a real-life experience, but that I had witnessed. But so most of it was fictional. And so I put that together and sent it in. And there were, I don't know, something like, I want to say something like 90,000 entries or something like that. It was ridiculous from all over the world.
And you got first prize?
No, actually, there were a total of 19 prizes, and mine was like, I don't know, 13th or something. So, but still, it was fantastic.
But it was worth a few bucks.
Yeah, it was. It was worth $10,000, which for a
that
short
ain't
story.
Bad for a short story.
No, not bad.
You don't get that kind of money from the New Yorker, I don't think, for a short story.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't been published there, so.
All right, so there you are. You've got that as what you might call a wonderful confidence builder.
Absolutely.
To win that kind of a prize. So perhaps then you started writing with more purpose, with some kind of niche in mind. And that turns out to be paranormal romances for teens, which is a mouthful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not only one such, but 3 you plan, or you got Simon & Schuster to plan.
Yeah.
Did you think of 3 right off?
No, I didn't. I wrote the first book thinking it was going to be just a single standalone title. Mm-hmm. When I finished writing that, though, I still felt like there was more to tell, more of a story to tell. So I did what authors generally shouldn't do, and that is start writing the second book before you've sold the first one. So,
So did Simon & Schuster get 2 of them at once, or one almost immediately followed by 2?
They actually just wanted to look at the first one first, but then when they decided to purchase it, they asked if I had a sequel in mind, and I said, as a matter of fact, I happen to have one right here. So that worked out absolutely perfectly, and it was a really fun way to do it.
This is already a very strange story. But then when one looks at the book itself, the main character, a teenage girl, high school student, 18 in the second book, 17 in the first book. Her name is Janie. Mm-hmm. Janie with a long last name, so I keep forgetting.
Janie Hannigan.
Hannigan. And she has quite a different talent. She at one point somewhere in the literature it says she gets sucked up into other people's dreams.
Yes.
Now that's not very elegant.
No.
But it is accurate in the sense that it's something that happens to her that she doesn't will to happen.
Correct. It's definitely something that she can't control. And definitely it feels like she's being sucked up into someone else's dream. So,
and that gives her an intimacy with the person who's dreaming that ordinarily she would not have.
Correct. She learns a lot from other people's dreams. And the thing is, they don't know that she's there, although they do interact with her.
The problem, of course, is some of the dreams are nice and some of them are not. And as we've said, Fade is book 2. And I think to understand Fade, you must know something about book 1, which is called Wake. And we'll take care of that when we come back.
You're listening to Conversations on the Coast with Jim Foster. Follow us on Twitter at JimFosterCoc or send an email to jimfostercoc@gmail.com.
The title of today's book is Fade. The author is Lisa McMann, and Fade is part of a trilogy. It is a Pulse book published by Simon & Schuster's Children's Publishing Division. And a pretty fair country writer of dark books, I would say. Cassandra Clare has said about Wake, we'd be honest about this, a lyrical, shuddersome novel whose images linger with you long after you've turned the last page, like the most haunting of dreams. That's good stuff.
That was very good.
That's
good
very
stuff.
good.
She's a fantastic author.
Yeah. Now, look, before we talk about Wake, tell us who came up with this notion of 3 one-word titles to kind of tie it together. I think it really works.
I do too. I think it's a great way to go, and it was my editor's idea. My original manuscript title was Janie Hannigan Dreamcatcher, but that sounded a little on the young side. This is definitely for older teens.
Also how-to-y.
Yeah. And so she came up with the idea of doing the one-word titles, and we together came up with a list and tried to get titles that were had a little punch to them.
Good.
So
Good. No, you did.
Yeah, it worked out really well.
Came out great. Wake. For 17-year-old Janie getting sucked into other people's... That's where I got that phrase.
Yeah,
from your
that's
press
it.
release. Getting sucked into other people's dreams is a part of everyday life. She can't explain how it happens, but when the people around her begin to sleep and dream, she finds herself an unwilling voyeur. She certainly can't tell anybody about what she does. They never believe her, or worse, they think she's a freak. Lately, it's been getting worse. What goes on there?
Well, Janie's sort of a loner, so she lives on the fringe of her high school. She doesn't have many friends, and but then she falls into the nightmare of sort of a mysterious guy at her high school. She doesn't know much about him, but he dreams some pretty disturbing dreams, and she's a little bit scared, actually.
Okay.
And then she appears in one of his dreams, which really scares her a little bit, but she's also fascinated and wants to find out more about Cable.
And that gets Wake screamingly on its way.
Yes.
You mentioned in introducing Janie that she's somewhat of a loner. Mm-hmm. And in the second book, you write this, March 24th, 2006, 3 p.m. Janie is in a daze now. It's been nearly 3 weeks. She goes through her classes like a zombie, goes home after school every day alone. It's fierce. There's so much more to miss now. Being alone before Cable was much easier than being alone after Cable. Cable's the fellow you were just talking about.
Yes.
He doesn't sit nearby in study hall anymore either, doesn't call, doesn't check on her when she gets sucked into dreams. He can't even seem to look at her. And when it happens by accident in the hallways, the parking lot, his face gets a stricken look, and he hurries on without a word, away from her. I think that's, anybody's loneliness, but certainly teen angst loneliness. That is great. That is great stuff.
Thank you.
And of course, this comes at the end of a whole bunch of action in the second book. And the second book in the trilogy is called Fade.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Fade fulfills the dark promise of its predecessor and then some. When disturbing things start happening at Field Ridge High, none of the students wants to open up. Even the teachers are proving difficult. Finally, Janie decides to tap into a classmate's shocking nightmares and ends up finding herself in Way Over Her Head. Mm-hmm. And does she?
Yes, absolutely. She is in way over her head. She's onto something that was way over the heads of pretty much everyone involved, and it's pretty scary situation, and a really tough spot for her to be in.
And one of the deep problems here is that the people that a student, that's what she is, would automatically look to for support. There's great suspicion as to whether they can be trusted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's definitely a problem with the teachers in this story, and it's up to Janie to sort of put herself in a little bit of harm to solve it.
There's a discussion she has with, using a term from spy novels, with the cop who's running her. Where she's given opportunity to opt out of this particular operation.
Yes.
And she doesn't.
No, she doesn't. In fact, I think partly that's because Cable wants her to. And she's a very tough girl. And the moment he showed a little bit of concern. Yes. So
We have one segment to go. It's your chance to meet some of the characters that make Wake and Fade so memorable.
You're listening to Conversations on the Coast with Jim Foster. Follow us on Twitter at Jim Foster COC or send an email to jimfostercoc@gmail.com.
This is Jim Foster. It is Conversations on the Coast. Fade, the second book in a trilogy, the three titles of which are Wake, Fade, Gone. Gone you can't get yet. Not published. Wake is published. Fade is published. Lisa McMann is out telling everybody about them, and she stopped by here. And it's under the auspices of Simon & Schuster's Children's Publishing Division. Got all the credits in there. Now, I'm left with at least one question.
Yes.
Where does this notion of dream catching come from?
That's a great question.
And I never heard of it before.
Well,
and I dream a lot. I mean,
Absolutely. Well, I got the idea of what if somebody could see what someone else was dreaming, and that idea struck me one day, and I just really hung on to that, and I kept thinking about it, and then I kept thinking of more what ifs. What if someone got stuck or got sucked into someone's dream, and I got to thinking about a character doing that in a story, and so I did some research. I did a lot of dream research. I looked up some stuff online, did some visits to the library, and found a few books, and just really learned about lucid dreaming and a little bit of dream interpretation.
Okay.
And really had a lot of fun doing the research for this project. That was a great time, and I slowly over time I developed this ability in this world, really this paranormal world where someone could actually do that.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Thanks.
One of the things that occurs quite frequently in the book, of course, is Janie goes in to gets involved in somebody else's dream. And I want you to share with our audience just one instance of your writing about that. It begins right there and ends at the bottom of the page.
Okay. 2:17 p.m. Janie feels it coming. She sets her book down and glances at Cable. It's not him. He gives her a pitying half smile when he sees the look on her face, and she tries to smile back, but it's too late. It hits her like a bag of rocks to the gut, and she doubles over in her chair, blinded, her mind whirling into Stacy O'Grady's dream. Janie recognizes it. Stacy was in Janie's study hall last semester, too, and had this same nightmare a few months ago. Janie is in Stacy's car, and Stacy is driving like a maniac down a dark street near the woods. From the back seat, a growl, and then a man appears and grabs Stacy around the neck from behind. Stacy's choking. She loses control of the car, and it careens over a ditch, smashes into a line of bushes, and flips over.
This dream and her catching of it recurs several times, and in a certain sense is the trigger for other things that happen in the book.
Yes.
But the reason I wanted you to read it is that, as paranormal as the experience that you're talking about is, the way you talk about it makes it most real.
Oh, thank you.
Really,
Yeah.
it's very, very, very good. The other thing that can escape if you don't really think about it and focus on it is that the two main characters in this book are very different from the heroic characters in teen literature, in the sense that they don't come from very nice backgrounds. Mm-hmm. They don't come from very nice childhoods, do they?
No, they don't. They don't.
I mean, Cable's father set him afire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there's the character of the mother, Janie's mother, which is, again, incredibly nicely drawn. And she's an alcoholic,
mm-hmm.
and she's like hardly there, but she's there.
Yeah.
I mean, she goes home and mom is on the couch or
right.
gets up enough to get another drink and then goes to bed.
Sure.
And that's it. And I mean, you can talk a lot about alcoholism and the effect it has on, say, a teenage girl,
mm-hmm.
and, go on for a dissertation type paper, but you don't get it any faster or realer than you do through the way you make her play in the novel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's really important that young adult literature is real, and real life happens. And there's a lot of kids out there who have an alcoholic mom or dad, a lot of people who have an abusive father, like Cable's father. And, we need to represent. I think
there's nothing in what you write that, to me, seems the way it ought to be. For example, further example, one of the main characters in this book is dead.
Yeah, right.
Now, I don't know, was she dead in the first book too?
In the first book, she died in the first book, but it was before Janie knew who she was, really.
But here in the second book, she be dead.
Mm-hmm.
But she's, throughout these pages, because she too was a dream catcher.
Yes.
Dream catching is the subtext. The front text is great teenage, and parents, you can read it too. It's a book called Fade. It's part of a trilogy. The author is Lisa McMann, and this has been Conversations on the Coast. I'm Jim Foster.
Follow us on Twitter at Jim Foster COC, or send an email to jimfostercoc@gmail.com.